Hello, this is Bridget Tullo, and thank you for joining me at the Truth About Living podcast. And so you can download more episodes at iTunes, or if you prefer to watch the video version, which you may be doing now actually, you can find me at my YouTube channel, The Truth About Living. Monday through Friday, I upload an episode a day. So there's lots of content for you there. Find the subjects that you love, download them, and listen at your leisure. Today I wanted to share with you something I've been blogging about a lot recently, and you may have heard of this. It's been around for some time. I've heard of it for a while, but I am just now feeling the inclination to dive into it, and that is A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles, I didn't quite know what it was. I mean, it sounds like a course. I didn't know if it was an online course or a class you took or a book or what. It's just kind of been floated around. I've picked up hearing about it here and there. I can't even really tell you where I've heard about it. It's just been a part of kind of the running dialogue in the back of my mind that it existed and that maybe I would check it out one day. What inspired me to actually get it and to start to dive into it is a couple of things. Well, I have been in transition, you could say. We all have those times in life where we feel that change is not only helpful, but is absolutely necessary. And that's where I have been. And actually, that's how The Truth About Living came to be. So it's a good thing. But one of the things that feeds me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, when I go through a life change, is reading. So I was diving into a couple of books that were new to me, and I think they're actually kind of new on the shelf, actually. One is Life Visioning by Michael Bernard Beckwith. I'm about 3/4 through that book. I'm listening on Audible, and it's quite good. We're going to have notes on that book on the website, The Truth About Living, because I think it's one of those books that you need to have. It's great to listen to. Actually, it's really wonderful to listen to. But you need to either be taking notes on it, or you need to have some way to go back and I'm a very visual person when it comes to taking action, so I need to see the steps. And so I thought it'd be good to have some notes on the book for myself, and I want to share that with you. So that's going to be on the site. Also, another book I've been into. I can't seem to read just one book at a time. I have multiple going on at one time, but the other one is from Gabrielle Bernstein, and it's called The Universe Has Your Back. I came across her because while I have significantly reduced my Facebook time and my Facebook groups and connections just for the sake of clearing mental space. I've done that in the last few weeks. It's actually been really cleansing, really good. But one of the pages that I like on Facebook is Mike Dooley. You may know him from Notes from the Universe, or what is one of the books that I love? I love all of his books, but Infinite Possibilities. I think that's one of his bestsellers, Infinite Possibilities. And who doesn't want to read a book called Infinite Possibilities? Anyway, so that's Mike Dooley, and he was sharing a new book from Gabrielle Bernstein. I think it's Bernstein. So she has this book, The Universe Has Your Back, and I guess she's written a few before this that I have not seen, so I'm really excited to have books on my list now that I can dive into. You kind of go through those periods in time where, or at least I do, where I've got a dozen books that I want to read and am so looking forward to each new one. And then I go through periods where I'm like, what else can I read? What else is out there? Start asking friends for suggestions, kind of thing, because I used to be a voracious reader in terms of having a copy of a physical book in my hand. But once I became a mom, I just I just lost that discipline in my life to sit down and actually read, or maybe it's a luxury to sit down for an hour and read a book. So what I do now is I do a lot of Audible. Love, love, love Audible from Amazon. So I listen in the car. So anyway, I'm listening to The Universe Has Your Back, which I am enjoying quite a bit. I'm about, I don't know, a fourth of the way through that book maybe. And she talks about A Course in Miracles. And I Googled her. I found a TED Talk that she had done, and she talks about A Course in Miracles. And I'm listening to what she's saying, and I'm thinking, I am in need of some new inspiration, some new spiritual something. I couldn't put my finger on it. Change, inspiration, spiritual nourishment, something. What I have been doing up until this point in my life has been good. I don't really have any complaints about it. I mean, I try not to be a complainer in the first place, but I have a good life. I feel like I've devoted a lot of my time and energy over the years to personal growth and development, and still there's so much more to do and to learn, and ways that I want to better myself. But something has been feeling uncomfortable. And I saw this video the other day. A friend of mine shared it. It's I don't know who it was from. It was an older Indian gentleman. I don't know if he was a spiritual teacher or what his background was, but it was just a little excerpt. And he was saying, when, in terms of animals and the natural order of things, when a lobster, for example, begins to grow, its shell is not growing, right? It's growing inside, so it starts to become uncomfortable. It becomes a tight space, and the lobster grows more and more uncomfortable as it grows because the shell is very limiting. So what it does is it goes to a safe place under a rock away from predators, and it loses its shell and grows a new one. And it comes back out, and the process continues. It grows and grows and becomes larger and becomes uncomfortable in this shell, right? And so it goes and does the same process however many times. I don't know how many times they do that in their life, actually, but so it's this idea that growth, the need for change, the need for growing can be uncomfortable. And he kind of drew an analogy that when we, in our society, when we get like that, when we get uncomfortable, and there's a lot of words for being uncomfortable, you can think of it in terms of, oh gosh, there's so many things, right? There's anxiety and depression, and there's worry, and there's fear, and there's failure, and there's racing thoughts that keep you up at night. There's so many manifestations of what we consider discomfort. And we know, this is really a separate talk entirely, but we know that there's a strong mind-body connection. So when we have mental or emotional discomfort over a period of time, that it can actually lead to disease within the body. But leaving that aside for now, if we think about how we manage those things, that extreme discomfort that we feel in our society, he was saying we go to the doctor and we get, medications, maybe Xanax or Prozac or something. And a couple of things about that. I'm not anti-medication. I am very respectful of everyone's individual need to choose that for themselves. I have taken medication in years past for depression. It was a tremendous lifesaver for me at the time. I was very grateful for it. And a separate time in my life, I took medication for anxiety. So, I'm not casting stones about medication. What I am saying is that from his video and from kind of my take on it is that there are times in our lives where there is this level of discomfort, and we can't always put our finger on why we're having that discomfort. But The underlying reason may be that there is a need for growth or change. And we know that growth and change can be kind of scary, right? Because it's unpredictable, and changing our life circumstances is no small thing. When we make significant changes, we're not sure if it's going to be successful. We're not sure how other people are going to view us. We're not sure how our family is going to react. We're not sure about a lot of things. And that lack of certainty keeps us sometimes stuck where we are. Having said all of that, for months now, I have had this song on my mind. Sam Cooke, "A Change is Gonna Come." I have just been feeling it, and I could not quite tell you what it meant, but I have had it in my heart, and I felt like there are just things in my life that did not feel quite right. But not knowing what exactly, and not knowing how it was going to come about for change, I just kind of held on to it. And a lot of things have happened in those months since since that became part of my mindset. One of the things is that we are expecting our second child, so we're very, very, very thrilled about that. That's a significant change, and one of the things that's come about through that is that, as I've shared on another podcast episode, I think, is that I have had a lot of days of pregnancy sickness that have kept me somewhat withdrawn from the world, withdrawn from my business responsibilities, withdrawn from a lot of social activities, and I was feeling kind of rotten about that. Now, looking back, I think that was actually a blessing, because it was a forced withdrawal from the world in a way that I would not have chosen, something that I had to do, that my body was rather demanding that I do, was to rest. And that withdrawing from a lot of my day-to-day activities, significant reduction in work time, for example, actually helped, I think, to bring about this change, because it's kind of like, it's kind of a funny word to describe it, but kind of incubating. It's like, it was like withdrawing in terms of like something new is coming. And when I started to emerge from being sick and starting to feel better, one of the things that I did in terms of clarity and changes in my life was to make quick and firm decisions about what I did want to be doing, what I did not want to be doing. And it was decisive, and it was something that I didn't have a firm grasp of, 6 months ago. So what that looked like in terms of day-to-day things was giving my respectful apologies to a lot of my business groups, networking groups, and everything, and just withdrawing and just kind of ending my relationship with those groups and with those individuals. Again, very respectfully. There's nothing wrong with those groups. They're beautiful people, but that's not where I wanted to be going. And it was, you can have your energy scattered in so many directions, right? So it felt so good to close off so many of these things. And even more than that, software services. I mean, just a lot of things that I did not want to keep utilizing. And a friend of mine who is a coach, a colleague of mine from Duke, she and I had a talk and let me have the space of acting as a client with her so that I could talk through some of these things. And she said, it sounds like by making these decisions that you are creating space for something possibly new to emerge. And it just felt so good. It's kind of like that feeling when you clean out your closet, right, with the clothes that you don't love anymore. And it feels so good to give them away and have that space in your closet. And then what do? You eventually find new, beautiful things that you love to fill in some of that space. So that's kind of where I am with that. That's a long way of getting around to saying that I have started to read A Course in Miracles. The book came about just at the right time for me when all of that had been transpiring. And again, I didn't know what I was getting into. I found it on Amazon and it arrived about a week ago, and it is massive. If you're watching the video version of this on YouTube, I'm showing it to you now. It's massive. It's well over 1,000 pages, and heavy, and thin pages in small print. I mean, it's this is going to take some doing. So I didn't really know. Again, I didn't really know what I was getting into. It's broken up into these sections, right? So if you're new to this, I'm going to give you a little overview. If you've already read this, I would love, love, love to hear your thoughts about it on the blog. I have a lot of articles on my experience with going through A Course in Miracles, and you can comment on the blog. I love, love the feedback at thetruthaboutliving.com. So it's broken up into sections. There's a preface, there's text, there's a workbook for students, a manual for teachers, clarification of terms, and supplements. And the text part of it is 669 pages. And the workbook for students is pretty much a lesson a day. It's 360, a little shy of a year, lesson a day. I'm not even sure what to call it. It's just daily lessons, right, for contemplation. I have not done that. That's why I'm kind of a little tongue-tied about that part. I've not done the workbook for students, and that was part of the question about A Course in Miracles: is how do you approach this, right? What I did was I tend to be a rule follower by nature. So I thought, well, I should start at the beginning and work my way through. So I did. I started at the preface, and I loved the preface. I mean, a lot of times with a book, you don't even read the preface, right? You just want to get straight to the content. The preface is good. Don't skip it. I was taking notes in the preface and taking my time in the preface, and I thought, wow, if I'm going to read it this slowly and this thoroughly and this thoughtfully and reread it and highlight and take notes, this is going to take a long time to get through. Not to mention that I don't spend hours a day reading, right? I mean, I might spend 15 minutes at a time reading. So this is going to be a long-term project for sure. After I'd gotten maybe, 15 pages or so into the text itself, well, I couldn't help but just look ahead, right? I wanted to see what the workbook for students is, and if I should be doing that. It's kind of hard to know what to do first. And so I looked ahead and I thought, these look really good. I want to jump ahead and start there, but I didn't know if I quote unquote should. So, and then I was confused too, because why is there a manual for teachers? Do you need a teacher? And I started Googling this stuff, and I found there's study groups, and what I found is that you don't have to have a teacher, but there are really only a handful of teachers really that are, I don't know what the qualifications are for being a teacher, but I know anyone can lead a study group. It's more of a community thing, I guess, where everybody contributes, whereas with the teacher relationship, it seems like it's it's a one-on-one, right? A teacher working with a student. So I don't know how that comes about. I read online that you should be open to finding a teacher. Kind of just, they didn't use the words going with the flow, but that's kind of how I took it. It's just being open to the experience of this book and what comes your way. What I've decided to do after reading a few things online, and I did include some resources again on the website about what I found about how to go through the book. What I've decided to do is to continue reading the text, whether it's even just a few pages a day, because I've found that touching on it a little bit each day is really significant, as opposed to, you could sit and read 50 pages and then not touch it for a week. I think it would be more beneficial well, I'll just speak for myself. It's more beneficial to read a few pages, a little bit each day, than long periods and then not think about it for a while. When I am interacting with the book, the course, on a daily basis, I stay very connected to what I'm reading, and I find that I'm thinking about it throughout the day, and I'm really curious and really interested to see, as I learn more and I read more, how this is going to play out, how this is going to stack up in my life, what the cumulative effect of this is going to be. What I decided to do is to read the text, as I mentioned, a little bit each day, and to jump over to the workbook for students and do one lesson a day there as well. The lessons are not long, but they are thought-provoking. So I'm just going to open it up real quick while I'm talking here. A lesson might be one page or even half a page. So it's more about the intention and the mindfulness of going through it than it is about diving chapters deep. It's more about contemplating the smaller pieces of it, which is interesting considering how thick the book is, What is A Course in Miracles about? I'm still kind of figuring that out, which is funny considering that I've been reading it for 4 days now. It's not an easy question to answer. And if you look online, like when I bought it on Amazon, I read some of the reviews. If you look at what people say about it, is it Christian? Is it religious? Is it part of kind of a new age thought movement? Is it metaphysical? What is this? There's kind of no one straightforward answer about that. What I can suss out so far is that it's a little bit of all of that. It's not religious, so I like that about it. It does have a lot of Christian references, which I have a Christian background, but it seems to speak a lot to metaphysics, which I love. And how else can I describe it? It's very interesting. It's just very interesting. I'm not 100% sure what to make of it at this point, but I know that I like it. That's the funny thing. I know that I like it. If you open the Bible and read it, you know what you're getting into. You know the background of it. The historical significance of it even, but when you open a book like this, it's not something that you find on the bestsellers list. It's not someone's take on I don't know, law of attraction or something. It has a scholarly feel to it, and there's a lot of reasoning in there as well. But the overarching ideas that I've come across so far are about love and God, and about self-forgiveness, and about your perception of reality versus the truth. Truth and knowledge being that God and love is all that there is, and perception being a distortion of that, how we perceive things, that we are in effect in some ways mentally creating our own nightmare even when we feel lack, when we feel scarcity, when we feel fear, that these things are constructs of our mind and they're not really the truth of the universe. So it's deep stuff, right? This is this is not light reading, and it's not for everyone. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process of thinking about it. I like being thoughtful about this stuff, and I like it's refreshing after doing, for several years now. I've been, more on the path of the audible while I'm driving, inspirational kind of thing. But to have something that I feel like I'm studying, and that I can be really deeply reflective about is refreshing to me. Maybe that's just because I'm just somewhat addicted to education. I can't seem to stop enrolling for classes and courses and degrees, and just love learning. But I love learning in these specific ways. I love learning about life and the nature of life and the nature of reality. I just love that stuff. And I love spreading the message that I think life is fundamentally good. I have felt that way for a long time. And, years ago, I had a lot of what's sometimes now called, victim mentality or victimhood mentality, which is basically where you think things are out of your control, where you feel like life is happening to you, where you feel blame towards others for your circumstances. A lot of us live or have lived in that mindset. It's very, very, very common for that to happen. But kind of having broken out of that several years back, and really believing deep down that life is it's something that you can create consciously and even unconsciously. We're creating it in every waking moment. I believe that we are creators of our life experience. Not to say that there aren't things that happen that feel very much out of our control that we have difficulty understanding, whether it's loss. Definitely have had loss in my family in the last few years, a lot of grief, and it's hard to understand, especially if you believe that you have a significant role in creating your reality and creating your life. And I think that when things like that happen, they transcend our understanding, is the best way that I know to describe that. And I'll just leave it as that, because I don't want to. I don't want to get into the statements that you hear so often when things happen that are tragic, right, in our life, that things happen for a reason. And I can't even go down that path, because I don't know why those things happen. I think they transcend our understanding. I do think there's a bigger picture. There are greater powers at play, whether it's whatever your belief about God is. But that does not take away from the fact that we are conscious creators, and that we are very much in control of so many aspects of our life. And a lot of times we don't even realize the power and control that we have. And we create those things through our actions, and our actions come from our thoughts and our beliefs, right? So that's why I think it's so important to take time to be self-reflective, to meditate, to do visioning, to have a strong spiritual basis, whatever that may be. Now, I'm going to continue blogging about A Course in Miracles. I've found it's really helpful to write about what I'm experiencing. And so you can find a lot, actually. You can find a lot of what I have to say about A Course in Miracles as I go through it on the blog at thetruthaboutliving.com. And you'll find that I also write about real life. I call it real life, the things that kind of the day-to-day things that fall outside of the deeper spirituality talk, and even entrepreneurship, because I am a big believer in that you can create the lifestyle that you truly want for yourself and your family, and entrepreneurship is a fantastic way to do that. So I do talk about that, and specifically online entrepreneurship on the site. So I hope that you will find me over there. And also, I'd love to hear from you. So please comment on the blog, or comment on the YouTube channel, the Truth About Living YouTube channel. And if you could, share this podcast, review this podcast, rate it. It really helps it to grow and to thrive and to reach more people. So thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm Bridget Tullo. This has been the Truth About Living podcast, and I'm always grateful. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.